Broadway students and theater fans, welcome to Inside Broadway's Careers in Theater video series. I'm so glad that you're here with us. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Crystal Young, and we have a very special guest today. Now, when you go to a Broadway show, you're watching the actors, the singers, the dancers. You're listening to the musicians shine their talents on stage. But backstage and in the wings, there is a lot going on. There is a team of hardworking people, and they're making sure that everything happens flawlessly. And these days, this one's important, safely. The key is teamwork and communication. The person who is in charge of making sure that all departments work together is the production stage manager. The job encompasses so much, and it requires a lot of talents and unique traits. We're very lucky today to have one of Broadway's best production stage managers here to talk with us and tell us a little bit about what he does. So, drum roll please. I love it, he has his own drum roll. Please welcome Matt DiCarlo. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, fabulous. And so am I. Okay, so let's start with something super basic. What is a production stage manager?
Alrighty. A production stage manager, I always think of as the center of a wheel that all of the spokes sort of head into. And in order to make the wheel turn, the spoke needs to be secure and working. In a Broadway show's sort of ecosystem, the stage manager is the person who makes sure that the show happens the way it's supposed to 8 times a week. And that could mean a million different things every day, but it's the person who sort of calls the shots and makes the show happen.
Oh, I like that. That is an important job.
I think so.
Yeah, if you're the middle of the week, if you're the center of anything, you know, everything is revolving around you.
In a way though, I make sure that it revolves around the show.
Oh, okay. I like that. You see what we did there? Okay. There's a lot of revolving here.
Yes.
But yes, you're making sure that everything goes smooth. Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit more about him in a minute. But first, where are you from?
New Jersey. I was born and raised in Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Oh, no, where is Hillsborough?
It is, it's about an hour and a half drive out of New York City. Closest big recognizable place is Princeton.
That's a pretty
beautiful,
good, recognizable place. Yes. Okay. Were you interested in theater growing up?
I thought I wanted to be an actor, though. When I was growing up in elementary school and middle school, I was in all the school plays. I took dance lessons, voice lessons. I went to acting camp over the summer, and that was really where I was focused in the beginning.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I like that though, and sometimes that does happen, that you sort of want to be around one thing, but then it slightly changes what that role in that thing is.
Yes.
Okay, so I like that. So it sounds like you have to be very organized to be a stage manager. Were you like that when you were a kid and were you creative?
Yes, I'm both. And I think to be a great stage manager, you sort of have to be able to wear both hats.
Yeah.
And I'm really organized. I always have been. Okay. When I was growing up, I was one of those kids who kept my room
just so?
Spotless. And all of the books lined up in size order.
I love it.
Yeah. And,
so wait, your mom never had to say, clean your room?
No. My brothers, yes. Me, no.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
All right.
And then I was also, super creative too. I was always doing plays in my backyard and my basement and making things and drawing things. And I was always focused on that part of my life, and that's all I wanted to really be doing.
I like that though. You definitely drew from your personal strengths, and it really is true in life that if you find the thing that you're good at and then you just expand on that in terms of a 9 to 5, you're never going to really be working. It won't be a job.
It never feels like it. It's like living the dream every day instead of going to work. It's really cool.
Absolutely. So tell me about your education and your training.
Yeah. So after I graduated high school, I realized, I should say, in high school, it was by accident that I thought about doing anything that wasn't performing. In my junior year of high school, broke my leg and couldn't be in the spring musical. So was the assistant director instead. And I loved it. I was like, this accident actually was the greatest thing that could have happened because it changed my trajectory forever.
Yeah.
So I applied to all the big theater colleges in the country and ended up picking Rutgers, New Jersey, because I wanted to be close to New York. Broadway was a big goal of mine to sort of, I said if I could just work on one Broadway show someday, I'd be so happy. And the idea of Times Square and the marquee lights, and I craved it. So I wanted to be in school somewhere near where I could get in and out easily. Yeah. So I picked Rutgers. I studied there for 4 years, got a degree in theater, and moved right to New York. I lived in my first apartment was in Washington Heights.
Oh, okay.
And I've lived in a couple places over the last 13, 14 years, but I've been here since then.
I love that you didn't want to go far, like knowing that Broadway was such a draw.
Yeah.
You weren't one of those people like, let me do UCLA or University of Arizona.
And I thought about it.
Stay close.
Totally.
Interesting. I also love that the leg breaking put you in a realm to do something that you didn't even know you would like or could be good at, because that happens sometimes in life.
Yep.
You think you want this one thing, but I think that part of it was, did you like bossing people around? Yeah.
I always say I did like being in a leadership position.
That's very interesting. Yes, I'm feeling that. He was like, oh wait, I can tell you what to do now.
I'm in charge now.
I can get used to this. It's the exact opposite of someone going, do it like this, or you're the one going, well now.
Yeah, why don't we think about this?
Why don't we do it on my way? Okay. See, if you're like that, then you would be a perfect
stage manager.
Exactly. Telling people what to do. Channel that. Channel that in a good way that's not going to get you yelled at by your teachers or your parents. Okay, so learning is so different now, especially for anyone who is doing theater. Our students are missing rehearsing. I totally get that. And performing, we're missing it too. On stage with their friends and their teachers. Some of Inside Broadway students and teachers are watching this video in their actual classrooms. Hi class. Some are watching and learning and teaching from home. Hey, if you're at home. Teachers are working harder than ever. That really is true. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about a theater teacher that was important to you growing up? One that had an impact, because there's always that one.
Yes. Yep.
Who was your one?
Mine, his name is Trent Van Doren. He was our high school theater director, and he was unbelievably inspiring. I actually knew him through extracurricular theater before I went to high school, and he's somebody who was so supportive, so understanding, so encouraging, and he's come to see every show I've done since I graduated high school. We still stay in touch, and he's still directing at that high school. So he's just incredible, and he has changed so many lives.
I love that. Yeah. But I love that he's keeping up with you,
Totally.
that it didn't end after the school experience.
Not at all. He was just at, he came to see Beetlejuice right before the shutdown. So he hasn't missed one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Okay, what are some of the traits or characteristics a production stage manager must have?
Such a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about one, organized.
1,000%.
Gotta be organized.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I will say is you've got to be really diplomatic, and being diplomatic means really understanding how to talk to people and encourage and lead people in a way that everybody will hear. And there's a real approach in the way we communicate. So to be a diplomatic communicator is a great one. You've also got to be creative. You've got to think on the fly, problem solve quickly, and be able to think outside the box in order to sort of make things easy for everybody else.
Yeah.
Those are like the big ones for me.
I like both of those. Well, first of all, outside the box, things are always going wrong, right? So you always have to figure out how to pivot, how to do it quickly, how to make it make sense, how to go, okay, we're just going to deal with what we have and make it better. But I also love the being diplomatic, because I find in television it is huge. You're dealing with so many type A personalities and people that right off the bat think they're right, when a lot of times they're not. But how you say it and how you communicate things, it's so key. Sometimes someone can step in front of you and say something and it just comes off all wrong, and the person's reaction to it is wrong, and then you just add like a little bit of peanut butter and jelly and some sugar and stir it around, and you get what you want.
Great. Yes.
Right?
And I think, I'm sure you feel this in TV too, I find so often what I need to do is be the calm in the storm. And when everybody's tensions get the highest, I am the most relaxed I've ever been. And that goes a long way too as a stage manager. Being the person who everybody can look at with like the steady hand and the calm voice, no matter what's going on.
Right, not the one that's twirling and screaming and.
Then how do I expect anybody else to sort of focus?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And you're setting the tone. You
Totally.
know, keep in mind he's the middle.
Right. Yes. Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
So if the tone is
everybody's
then everyone else is flipping out too. Okay, I like that. See, good tips. So some of the shows you've worked on have been Honeymoon in Vegas, The Play That Goes Wrong.
So
Play That Goes Wrong. Okay. The Color Purple starring Cynthia Erivo. We know she's in the Aretha story right now.
Yes.
It's getting
Can't wait.
a lot of buzz, right? Okay. And Jennifer Hudson, and most recently the hit musical Beetlejuice, which we all know and love. We want to hear about your first Broadway show.
Okay, my first Broadway show was Rock of Ages.
Oh, all right. That's a good first one.
Oh my gosh, it was a blast. I started working on the show when it was off Broadway in 2008, I think it was. And it really, that show changed my life. I was with it for, I was with Rock of Ages for 6 years and watched it sort of become the mega hit that it was. And it was a real game changer for me in terms of solidifying that career that I always dreamed of and wanted. I took a sort of risk taking the job on Rock of Ages. It wasn't one that paid me a lot of money at the time. I wasn't supposed to be there full time for a long time, and I just sort of like put all my eggs in the basket, and I'm forever grateful.
I like that though. That's a really good first show. I would have to say.
So fun.
And to see it grow too, you know, that's got to feel really good.
Yes.
Because things don't go from off Broadway to Broadway unless they're really good, and they don't stay on Broadway unless they're really good, because those seats have got to have a person in them, or the curtain is closing permanently. That I know. I mean, things open and close like, wait, I meant to go to that.
Didn't even get to see it.
Yeah. But it was out a month and then it's gone. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Gotcha. So is it true that you're the youngest person to ever PSM a Broadway show? And what challenges did you face? Now you guys should know what that means by PSM.
It is true that when I took over at Rock of Ages, I was 25.
Oh,
and I was, at the time, I think it probably is still true, I was the youngest production stage manager ever of a Broadway musical. And it was, that was intimidating a little bit. But I think what I learned the most through that experience is that it wasn't ever actually about age. And it never is. It's about experience and approach, and about confidence, and being able to be confident saying I don't know if you don't know the answer to something. That goes so far. Yes. And you know, really deeply trying to take care of the show and take care of the company and make decisions that were always in the best interest of the show. I learned a lot of it by doing it on my feet. I didn't have the experience of being an assistant for lots of incredible PSMs before I was doing it myself. So I sort of developed my own style as I did it. But it was great.
Did you run into any people that thought, okay, you're young, and so how could you possibly know what you're talking about?
Of course. And like, there's no way around it, you know, and I was so aware of it. Then I then I looked, I think, younger than 25. So that was also a challenge, and I was so aware that there were going to be people who I was going to have to prove myself to. And every morning, like, as cheesy as it sounds, I can remember thinking like, okay, like, do that Superman pose in the mirror. You are going to go in there today and just prove whatever you have to prove. And then eventually that goes away.
Yeah, exactly. They work with you enough, and
yes, they let it go.
Right. They're like, we think he has a cape, but we're not going to say.
Right, but we'll listen.
I love it. Okay, so on a production, there are different positions in the stage management department. Can you explain each one of them and how important all that teamwork is.
Yes. So there's the production stage manager, and that is the job where we've been talking about. The sort of next position there, I always say like the second in command is the stage manager, and that person is the PSM's right-hand person, often where the production stage manager is looking at the big picture all the time. The stage manager is a bit more focused on the details and making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, that work. And then there are assistant stage managers. There could be 1, 2, 3 of those, depending how big the show is. And they are really in the weeds of the details, into the nitty-gritty of the props tracking and the costume changes and the crew paperwork and all of that kind of stuff. And together, that sort of team of people work as a unit to make the facilitate the show happening every night. And also, while we're in rehearsal, in addition to all of the stage managers, there are production assistants, which are early career, young stage managers who are just out of school, looking to get their feet wet, join the industry, and they are there to support us and the production as we sort of make the show Broadway ready.
Make it happen. Now, when it comes to the assistants, is each one doing like a specific thing, like one just does costumes or one just does this, or is it just kind of like, everyone does what needs to be done to make it happen?
Yes, such a good question, and it sometimes depends on the size of the show. I usually like to set it up so that each department has a point person. So there's like, on Beetlejuice, for example, there was me, then the stage manager was a girl named Rachel. She is amazing. She dealt with the props department. And then our first assistant stage manager was David. He was responsible for costumes and wigs. Emily was the second assistant stage manager. She was responsible for puppets and special effects. And we sort of set it up that way so that every department knew who to go to, but we could all together share information, because we have to delegate to make anything happen. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely. But everyone kind of has a lane.
So when you need to get in your lane, you know what it is.
All right. And when someone gets out of their lane, and you can go, wait a minute, I think you're swerving. Stay in your lane. That's what I'm talking about, right? Okay, get back in your lane. Okay. Gotcha. Alrighty. So once the curtain goes up, you're in charge. You're talking to the other departments, such as sound and lights, on a headset. Why?
So, it's true. Everybody backstage is wearing a headset, so for a couple reasons. One, we have to be able to communicate with each other all over the building. So, if I'm on my headset backstage, the lighting board operator is probably all the way in the back of the theater in a booth, and the people who automate the scenery are in the basement, and then there's other people, stagehands and stage managers on the deck backstage, and we use the headsets so that we can talk quietly to each other and that we can communicate about the executing of the show each night.
All right. Well, that makes sense. If everyone's sort of all over the place, the headset is what unifies everyone.
Totally.
Right, because you can't go, hey, Bill. Or you could.
Right, the audience would hear us. It'd be a mess.
That would just be really weird. Okay. Can you give us some examples of calling a cue?
Sure.
Okay.
So, in each show, every stage manager works off of a call script. And in that book, we have written out all of the cues. So we have light cues, we have sound cues, we have scenery cues, and some of like the biggest words that we use are standby or warning, and then whatever the cue is, and go. And warning or standby means get ready, and then go means do it. So, for example, we would say stand by on lights 17, light 17, go. And when we say go, the light board operator presses the button that makes light 17 happen.
Right.
And some shows have thousands of cues in them. Like Beetlejuice is one of them. There is just so much happening that it's almost like we're talking for the whole show. On the headset, listening to the show, watching the show, and following a script along, calling all the cues so that the audience sees a perfectly executed picture.
But all that happening behind the scenes.
Yes, like a split second ahead of when the audience sees it.
But I like how it's sort of like, get ready, and ready,
Totally.
and then go. So there's not that like, well, I said it, like how
Right,
can you
where
not
is
hear it? It's like to get ready.
Yes.
And then I guess after a while you do it enough that it should really be like muscle memory.
Yes,
Like,
and the stagehands are also, in New York, we have like the best stagehands in the world. They're incredible and so detail-oriented that I often find that once we've done a show for a while, the crew can tell me, like, Matt, you might be getting a second late on that, or just so
okay.
you know,
Right.
I think that we can tighten this up now, and they're incredible. I've worked with some amazing people.
Yeah. I like that. A second late.
Yeah, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, you're
Got
right.
it, noted.
Let me dial that back.
Yeah.
A second. Okay. Or two. Okay. Two if I like you.
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the terms that you use in terms of cues?
Yes.
But like, are there any special ones?
Yes, definitely we use a stand by and go. Sometimes we will say, so if we say, warning on ABCD, someone on the other end will say standing by.
Okay.
And we sort of have that language.
Yeah.
And then some of the other key phrases that we use are automation. Automation means all of the scenery that you see on Broadway that looks like it's moving by magic by itself is actually run by computer and machinery in the stage, so we call that automation.
Okay.
And our slang term for that is auto.
Okay.
So we'd say warning on auto cue 117.
I love that. Yeah. It sounds like mumbo jumbo to
totally.
Me, and probably to you, but it does make sense in the context that it's being used in. And it's funny with a lot of these creative jobs, like in TV, there are certain words that I use and then I have to dial it back if I'm not talking to a TV person because I realize they have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like I'll walk into the studio and they'll say, stand by the trips, right? So now tell me what you might think that is.
The trips?
Yeah. Okay, don't hurt your brain.
I have no idea. I'm like, it's something that makes sure someone doesn't trip. Like, what's the...
Stand by the anti-trip. So the trip just stands for triple monitors. So we have these long monitors that you stand next to when you project like a long image in. So I just did one the other day on like the 5-minute face, and I had like a bag of makeup in the triple monitor. And so if you have one photo, you'll stand next to one monitor. If you have two, you'll stand in the middle of two. And if you have three, you'll just sort of hover. But it's an area in the studio called the trips, and everyone knows what the trips is, or what the stage is.
Now I know.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go. If you ever come to Fox 5 and you're a guest on the morning show and they tell you, get to the trips, you'll be like,
I know where that is. Yeah. I'm excited.
Don't have to tell me twice. Yes, I like it. So we know that this is live theater, and that I believe in Murphy's Law. Do you guys know what Murphy's Law is? It's whatever can go wrong will. So sometimes things do go wrong. So what do you do when that happens? Because I know you can't yell.
No.
So what do you do?
Well, when things go wrong, there's a couple things that can happen. Sometimes we can problem solve quickly and make an adjustment to the show in the moment so that we can keep going, and maybe the audience will be none the wiser.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to stop the show.
Oh.
And have you ever been in a Broadway show?
I have not. I was just gonna say I've been to a lot, but never where it stopped. I think I would remember.
I have had to stop some, and often what happens there is, whether it be for safety or because an actor gets sick or anything could happen.
Yeah.
Murphy's Law. So I'll say, okay, everybody, we're going to stop the show.
Okay.
And then I will get on what we call the God mic, which means everybody in the theater can hear us.
I love it.
And I say, ladies and gentlemen, due to technical difficulties, we're pausing the performance at this time. Please stay in your seats. And we have a whole sort of protocol that we have, we'll bring in the curtain, fix whatever we need to fix, and we stop the show and start again. And often, because it's live theater, the audience gets like, oh wow, like, whoa, this is crazy,
I'm experiencing a moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then when it starts again, they just go crazy for it. And the more technically complex your show is, the more likely it is that you're gonna have to stop. So, like on Beetlejuice, for example, if we had a piece of scenery that got stuck or that just wouldn't move and wouldn't allow us to continue in a way that made sense, we would have to stop and get that piece of scenery off stage before we could start again.
Yeah, okay, wow.
Yeah.
What was the biggest ever stop? Was there ever a shocking one? Like, does anyone ever fall? Or, sometimes there's such physicalness that you're like,
Yes.
wow, I didn't pull that off that many times a week.
Totally. I mean, I have been fortunate that none of in the shows I've done, I haven't ever had where we had to stop because somebody got injured or hurt or anything like that. A funny story I can tell about stopping a show that was the most shocking to me in the moment is
yes.
when I was doing Honeymoon in Vegas on Broadway. We had a huge, big finale where it takes place in Las Vegas, and there's Elvis impersonators that come flying in, and one of our actresses was flying in as a big sort of funny bit in the last moments of the show. I mean, 30 seconds before the show's over. And she was in her rig, all set up in the air, and tipped herself forward and was just suspended upside down. Totally safe, totally locked in. She kept singing, but she was upside down.
Oh my.
And I stopped the show because I was like,
we
have to stop the show. Yes. So we stopped the show, got Nancy safely in, and then finished the last 30 seconds of the show.
Wow. I love it. So he stopped the show because he didn't want to leave it hanging.
Yeah. It's so true.
Okay,
that was good.
But literally, right?
Yes.
I mean, and how could you even focus if you were an audience member? You know what I mean?
You couldn't.
I don't know what else was going on. Yeah, I'd just be like, is she gonna fall?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we knew she wouldn't, but no one was paying attention. So
yeah, exactly. So
and I was worried for her. So.
Yeah. Was she worried for her? What did she say?
I think I was more worried than she was.
She was
she was like, I knew I was totally fine. Yeah, but looking at the monitor, was like, oh my gosh, we're stopping. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So now you start working with the show before it even starts performances. Do you start with rehearsals? What's the process?
Yes, always there from the first rehearsal, sometimes before. So, often a stage manager will start getting involved when the show is just in development. So just words on a page that people are reading at music stands and working on the material. I've been involved with a lot of shows since then.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's
and then sort of seeing it all the way through, which is helpful, right? It's so good to have that institutional knowledge about something.
Yeah.
And I really understand the story, the characters, the vision.
It
all becomes super clear.
Right. When you're in on the ground level as the house is being built, you get it. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so since you're with the show from the beginning and you're responsible for putting in placement performers, you really know the show best. You sometimes take on each other's role. So is that really exciting? Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Let's see. So often I've done a lot of these shows. I've been the production stage manager on Broadway, and then I've had the opportunity to restage and redirect them for other productions. So the Play That Goes Wrong, for example, I worked on, I was the original PSM when it was on Broadway.
Okay.
And then I directed the national tour, and I directed the off-Broadway production of the show. And I've been able to do that a lot. I did it with The Color Purple, and it's really nice to be able to take a piece that I know so well and so intimately and remake it and reteach it to people and put it on new bodies. Theater's living and breathing. It's never the same twice. That's why I do it. And it's been really amazing to be able to guide new casts of actors and new crews through a journey that I know so well. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. So let's talk about Beetlejuice. What a fun show. It had tremendous support from fans. We know the movie came out, so by the time the play came out, it was like, wait, what? Beetlejuice on stage? Sign me up. Okay. The show really spoke to so many people. What was that experience like?
I can never put it into words. Beetlejuice for me is probably my favorite thing I've worked on. And that's because it was a show that we all really believed in from the beginning. But it took a second for it to really find its audience. And I think early on there were a lot of people who looked at it and thought, is this going to be successful? Is that show going to be any good? And to watch it become quite literally an overnight sensation, I will never forget it. And our audiences were wild. It was like being at a rock concert, just packed houses, stage door lines, down the block.
Really?
Yeah, it was incredible, and people really responded to it. They just thought it was really exciting and really fun and emotional in a way that people didn't expect.
Oh, I like that. A little something
Yeah, really
unexpected.
touching. Yeah.
Now, did you find a lot of older people, younger people? Like, what was the demographic of who came
Right.
to see a Beetlejuice?
We definitely got the young people.
Okay.
That's for sure. And I think what I saw when
Uh-huh.
I was sort of observing the audiences is that the young people loved it, and they were the fans. You know, it had like a huge following on TikTok, and the more seasoned theater goers came in maybe skeptical at
Yeah.
first, but totally surprised and impressed by the end.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing to happen, I think,
Yeah.
when you go see a show, to come in with one expectation and leave thinking, wow, that was so incredible and I did not expect that. And then of course we gained a following.
Yeah.
And for a while we were making for most of the run over $1 million a week in ticket sales.
Wow.
You couldn't get a ticket on the weekends. You know what that's like in the city.
Yeah.
To have that happen to your show is a great thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that everything that's great on film doesn't always translate
So
on
true.
Broadway. Like sometimes you're thinking it was the biggest hit. How can you go wrong?
Right.
But
And you do.
somehow it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know. So to have people get it and then come to the show and get it.
Yes.
And then
Love it.
be kicking your door down for
amazing.
every performance. That's really cool. Would you say that was the biggest show you've worked on? What was the biggest?
Definitely the biggest. I think Honeymoon in Vegas would probably be a close second, but Beetlejuice the special effects alone, it just took so much, and we had so many people involved in it every night. The crew backstage is bigger than the cast. There were so many people responsible for making it happen that is where I feel like I exercised my skills the most about being like the most organized, diplomatic I could be, because it was just so many elements coming together.
Yeah. See, I was just gonna say, what were some of the biggest challenges?
Yeah, you know what it was? It was that there was not a moment in the show that really didn't need the work of the lighting designer, the projection designer, the scenic designer, the director, the choreographer, maybe the puppet consultant. There were so many people involved in the simplest thing, just to make sure that the audience really believed what they were seeing. And because of that, building it and making it was detail oriented, and that was probably the biggest journey I had to go on, was making sure that everybody was speaking the same language to each other and that everyone was always on the same page.
Okay. All-time favorite memory from Beetlejuice?
Oh my gosh. Tony night. I think we didn't win the Tony Award for Best Musical, but we were so thrilled to be nominated. And I will go to the grave saying that our Tony performance is one of the things that changed the show's trajectory.
Oh.
People went so crazy for it. It went viral on YouTube. And
I
I just think
that.
like we hit a home run that
Okay.
night. And it was, I will never forget it. Our party was amazing. It was great.
Oh, I like that. So the performance, people were like, oh.
Like, I want to go see that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you're still associated with Beetlejuice? How?
Yeah.
What do you have coming up?
In 2 weeks from today, I am heading to Seoul, South Korea to redirect Beetlejuice for the Korean premiere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is not like a little,
Yeah.
like, you
14-hour
you're not
flight.
You're not going to Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm going
You're
for
gonna-
10 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what is that going to be like to do it for an audience in another language? Correct?
This
Yes?
is going to be new for me.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're doing the show in Korean.
Okay, wait a minute. Now, how much Korean do you know?
Like 2 words. And I don't even feel good enough to say them.
Wait, is one Beetle and one Juice?
Yes. And so I have a translator.
Oh, wow.
And the cast is all Korean. The script has been translated into Korean. And I'm going over with a couple other team members from Broadway, and I'm going to restage Alex Timber's brilliant show on a Korean company.
Wow. Now, this is interesting, too. Do you worry that the Korean sensibility could be different and what's funny on Broadway is not funny there or vice versa?
I think we do.
What do you do?
So we have a great team of translators who've been working with our writers because, of course, culturally, there are just some things about Beetlejuice that are not going to translate or that we can even try.
Right.
So they've come up with some fun new approaches to some of the moments, and we're going to have to wait and see. I also don't think Korean audiences are as vocal as American audiences from what I hear.
Okay.
So we're used to like a laugh track audience cheering.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like that. So I'm curious. I'm excited to see.
Me too.
Yeah.
Actually, because of course, yes, you're right. Americans in general are very vocal people.
Visceral.
Yeah. So if you go someplace, you could be doing amazing, but if you have all these people that are like looking at you like that, then it kind of makes you feel like, do you get it? Do you not get it? Do you want this to be over? Are you waiting for intermission? Like, do you love it? But I can't tell. But therein lies the value of the rehearsals too.
Yes.
When
figuring it out together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not tossing it on anyone. You're kind of going, okay.
Right. Let's try this. Maybe we make this a little different.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm
now,
excited.
Broadway shut down for so long. What were you doing?
Well,
what weren't you doing?
Well, I wasn't working. So it's interesting. Doing theater 8 times a week, we never have a normal schedule.
Yeah.
Like we work when everybody else doesn't work, so they come to the theater.
Yeah.
So for the first time, I think in my adult life, I have made dinner and eaten it right away. And like watched TV when it's on, not on DVR.
Okay.
There's all those things. I've gone to bed earlier, I've woken up earlier, all those things that I call like normal life that we don't get to exercise when we do shows. I've gotten to do.
Yeah.
I have been reading all the books and watching all the movies and all the Netflix that I've wanted to watch and haven't had time. I've like really learned how to cook. I've spent a lot of time with my dog. There's lots of great things. I've tried to stay inspired. It's when your work gets taken away, it's interesting. I've learned a lot about why I love what I do. I've like recommitted to like the gratitude and to all the things I love about theater, and I've tried to like hold true to that. And I've been getting ready to go to Korea.
Yeah. That's a big get ready.
Yeah.
That takes a minute. It's hashtag the little things, but I think that you are very similar to me in terms of not really having a regular schedule. So then when you do have to slow it down, you're sort of like, oh, what does that look like?
Yes.
These normal things that other people do that I'm not even used to doing.
Wow. Yeah.
But now you get to.
Yeah.
What's interesting though, over this past year, because we pretty much just hit the year mark, I was laughing with a friend saying, if you haven't done it by now, you had a minute to figure some stuff out, right? Like all those closets you were gonna clean and and the books you were gonna read, and you should have chopped.
Right, we had time.
Yes.
I've tried to do that too, like use the time, but also not hold myself to it. Like if there's a day that I just want to relax, I remind myself, like you're not going to get this again. Like you might as well take advantage.
Yes, exactly.
Recharge.
How did you stay positive? Because I feel like when you do a job like yours, your life is very your job and vice versa. They're all wrapped up into one.
Yes.
So how do you say, it's coming back and forge on?
Yes, I'm a glass half full human in general, so I really try to dig into that, and I've been trying to focus my energy on things that I know are going to help me and make the industry better. So I've been volunteering for some nonprofits and continuing to educate myself and stay in contact with the people who I work with, just so that when we come back, because we will, that we're going to be ready and we're going to be better.
Yeah.
For, coming out of this time, thinking of it like a cocoon, not like a jail cell. Trying to make sure that I feel like I'm using this time to make sure that when the industry comes back, we are like roaring to go and ready, instead of feeling like I'm trapped.
Yeah. You're going to bust out like a butterfly.
Yes!
Yeah, a colorful one. All good.
I can't wait.
Yeah. All over Broadway. So, wrapping up, what's some of your advice for all these students that are going, all those things he said sound like that could be me. I could do that. What advice do you have in terms of becoming a stage manager?
Okay, my advice is learn as much about every aspect of theater as you can. The best stage managers understand what it means to be in a scene. They know what it is to direct a cast. They know what it is to sew a costume. They understand what it means to hang a light. They understand what it means to make a budget. The best stage managers have a real understanding of as much of the industry as possible, and you're in the great opportunity to do that. You've got so much time
Yeah.
to sort of dig
Yeah.
into all those little things. So pick a book and start reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic advice to know a little bit about everything, regardless of what aspect of it you want to go into.
Yeah.
And then you get it, because you can't really get it and you can't be the center if you don't understand how it all comes together. So, understanding how it all comes together is key.
Yeah.
And keeping it diplomatic. I still love
Totally.
that.
Yep.
Yes, learn how to
Talk
talk
so
to
people will listen.
Yes, smooth things over. It's a lot of personalities that you have to deal with, but when you're right in the middle and you're setting the tone,
Yeah. Operate from kindness. Like,
Absolutely.
operate from yes.
I like that. Operate
Always.
from yes, not from no. All right. Well, thank you, Matt, for
Thank
being
you.
here today. I think people right now are like, bing, 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 bing. Now I might have figured out what
Yes.
I want to
Be
do.
a stage manager.
Exactly. And you can boss people around sometimes.
Right.
But wait.
Nicely.
But you'll do it in a way people won't even know.
Exactly.
They'll
That's
just
the
be
trick.
doing, isn't it?
Yep.
They'll just be doing what you ask with a smile.
Don't even realize they're following the rules.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's like, am I actually doing what he asked me to do with a smile? Is that what's happening here?
Yes.
What is happening here? There you go. Stay humble and stay hungry, and you can do it. You can be a PSM like he is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.